At the beginning of the movie, we are shown Hong Kong, where in the slums, preparations are underway for a competition in mixed martial arts called Kumite. Workers have even set up a large pilaf cauldron to ensure there's plenty for all the fighters. The competition is shrouded in secrecy, and only the top competitors from different countries can receive invitations. Across the globe, the best fighters from various martial arts disciplines are gearing up for Kumite. There's an unsuccessful obstacle course runner struggling to leap over a barrier, a bartender expertly breaking ice for cocktails, and of course, a worker from the Bounty chocolate bar factory. In America, a heavyweight boxer polishing his redneck techniques is approached by a comrade who mentions hearing about the boxer heading to the secretive Kumite competition. The friend warns the guy that there are rumors of people getting killed during the Kumite fights.
I'll leave you up.
Meanwhile, somewhere in a Marine Corps gym, Captain Frank Dukes practices kicking on a speed bag. A fellow Marine informs him that the colonel wants to talk to him before Frank goes on leave, as he disapproves the Frank's plan to go to Hong Kong. Frank asks for a moment to get a shower.
Tell him I'll be right there after I take a shower.
But I'll have to wait, sir.
And realizing that this might thwart his trip, takes this opportunity to escape. The Marine immediately reports Frank's escape to the colonel, who orders his two best men to go after Frank. After some time, Frank reaches his sensei's home in California. The master's wife warmly welcomes Frank. However, since her husband is seriously ill, she needs a little time to inform him about the guest. Frank, not wasting any time, starts to reflect and recalls how, as a teenager, he sneaked into Mr. Tanaka's house under the instigation of his friends. The boys wanted to steal a katana, but upon hearing the sound of the opening door, they dropped the sword and ran away. Somewhat a slowpoke, Frank remained standing in place, but then tried to put the weapon back in its place. Tanaka and his son rushed in, and the boy kicked Frank in the belly. Then Tanaka said that this katana cannot be stolen. It must be earned. Frank states he didn't intend to steal the weapon.
You cannot get katana sword by stealing. It is a very special sword. You must earn it.
I wasn't going to steal it.
With a single swift motion of the katana, Tanaka skillfully removes the peak of Frank's cap. The bewildered Frank didn't even realize what happened, and his reaction, in turn, impressed Tanaka.
You didn't flinch. You have fighting spirit.
Master Senzo Tanaka promises not to involve the police if they make a deal. He goes to Frank's parents and delivers a motivational speech about how boys need discipline and strength, which martial arts training can provide, and asks for the opportunity to train Frank. Frank's parents are impressed by the master's words and agree to the proposal. But, in fact, the cunning Japanese needed Frank only as a punching bag, and he starts training his son on Frank.
How come you coach him but not me?
I brought you here to help me train my son. Don't question me.
If you expect me to be his punching bag, you can forget about our deal.
One day, Tanaka's son gets beaten up at school, and Frank intervenes, dealing with the bullies. The boy tells Frank,
"Someday, I'll fight in the Kumite and make my father proud."
But unfortunately, the boy never got to fulfill his dream. Crushed by the tragedy of losing his son, Tanaka no longer intends to continue training. Frank asks Sensei to train him.
Teach me. I can do it.
You are not Japanese. You are not a Tanaka.
The man reveals that before moving to the States, he had a family in Japan. A wife, a son, and a daughter. They lived in Hiroshima and perished during the war. In America, he aimed to start anew and to teach his boy the mastery passed down for 2,000 years from father to son in the Tanaka family. Frank promises to honor his teacher by winning Kumite.
To honor you, Shidashi.
Tanaka begins Frank's training. During the process, we discover that Frank confuses right and left. Training includes skills like catching fish barehanded, meditation, and of course, fighting blindfolded. Frank spends a long time blindfolded and can even block sudden attacks while carrying out everyday tasks. In the culmination of his training, we see him break Mr. Tanaka's training device during a stretch. The sensei rewards him with a katana, this time earned through hard work. With this, his reflection concludes, and Frank enters his trainer's room. He tells Tanaka that he's heading to Hong Kong for Kumite to honor his teacher. Tanaka assures him that his spirit will fight alongside Frank.
My spirit fight with you. In Kumite, you will need it.
In Hong Kong, Frank sees a Hulk who has also come for Kumite. The bearded guy tries to introduce himself to a girl, but faced with indifference, he decides to demonstrate his standard of culture to the beauty.
Too handsome for you, huh, honey?
Meanwhile, at the hotel, where all Kumite fighters stay, a journalist questions the lodgers about the secretive tournament. However, nobody is willing to share the secrets of the underground fights.
You two are here for the Kumite, aren't you?
Kumite? What is Kumite?
Look, guys,
I know there's a secret full-contact event being held in Hong Kong in the next few days.
At the same hotel, the Hulk challenges Frank to an arcade fighting game. Frank effortlessly defeats him. The bearded guy invites his random acquaintance to the super-secret competition to watch his fights.
You like this kind of fighting, huh?
Yeah,
You want to see some real fighting, you can see me fight at the Kumite.
I'm here too for the Kumite.
Name's Ray Jackson.
I'm Frank Dukes.
Meanwhile, 2 DIA officers visit Tanaka's house. The woman says Frank visited a couple of days ago to see his ailing teacher, but she doesn't know more.
Do you know if he was going to Hong Kong?
I don't know.
Of course you know. Look, we're not trying to... Mrs. Tanaka, we're very sorry to have disturbed you. Thank you very much for your time.
In the hotel, Frank and Jackson are welcomed by their manager.
Frank Dux.
No. It's Dukes.
Gotcha. Like put up your dukes, right?
He says this year's Kumite is unlike any before, with fighters from almost the entire world. He also warns them against brawling outside the competition, as it could lead to expulsion. The manager leads them to the building where the competitions will take place. It turns out the actual event is in mainland China, not Hong Kong.
Once you step out of the sunlight into the narrow corridors, it's time to protect your nuts, guys.
During registration to the Kumite, Frank shows his invitation, stating he represents the Tanaka clan.
You don't look like Tanaka.
Shidoshi Tanaka trained me.
What's the difference if Bruce Springsteen is a Shidoshi?
The organizers doubt that Frank could have trained under Master Tanaka and ask him to prove it with his skills.
Big. Choose a brick.
Okay, Frank. What about this one? Go! 4-2-1.
His task is to break the bottom brick from a stack. Frank shatters the brick, astonishing all participants.
Son of the bitch. Is that good enough, guys?
And then, Bolo Young delivers the legendary line.
Very good, but brick not hit back.
Losing no time upon arriving in Hong Kong, DIA officers head to the police, requesting the inspector to find the fugitive.
We're here because Frank is going to fight in the Kumite, and we're here to stop him.
The Kumite?
Learning that Frank plans to fight in the secret Kumite, a tournament known throughout Hong Kong and beyond, the inspector is reluctant to pursue a military man who hasn't officially violated any laws in his country.
We all know that the Kumite is happening here in Hong Kong.
It seems the super-secret Kumite is more popular in this world than UFC is today. At the hotel, an Arab with an Asian appearance pushes the journalist, inviting her insistently to his room, and promising to provide an interview about Kumite and more.
You want to say no?
No, Hussein is an asshole.
He intends to slap the girl for her audacity, but Frank interrupts the scoundrel.
He's the American shithead who makes tricks with bricks.
And then advises against a fight, as it could get them expelled from Kumite. Frank suggests settling the matter with a contest. The winner takes the girl to his room.
You hold this. If I can grab it before you close your hand, I get the girl. If I cannot, she's yours.
Very good.
What? You can't do this.
Just relax.
Just because I'm relaxed doesn't mean I'm relaxed. I'm fucking relaxed. I'm focused. I'm relaxed.
He recalls fetching a fish from a fountain barehanded and manages not only to retrieve the coin,
You lose, American asshole.
but also swap it for another.
Looks like she's mine.
He takes the girl with him, and she explains that she wants to write an article about the secret Kumite tournament. Hence, she tried to get in with the Arab. Frank invites the girl to dinner tomorrow evening. While Frank trains, Jackson barges into his room and jumps on the bed with dirty shoes, rushing his comrade for the Kumite Express.
You know, you better stop doing that stuff. You might want to have kids one of these days.
Frank calmly finishes the exercise and heads out. The first day of the competition arrives. The organizers announce that the tournament, held once every 5 years, will last for 3 days.
There are 3 ways to win. 1, you knock the guy out. 2, the opponent quits and shouts Mate. It's like saying uncle. 3, you throw the fucker right off the runway.
As spectators place their bets, fighters of different styles step onto the arena. One participant takes a hit to the face, spitting out some blood. The Hulk starts to build up suspense.
That's why they call this thing Bloodsport, kid.
If only he could see the bare-knuckle fighting championship. A fighter in shorts secures victory. The 6 feet and 4 inches Jackson steps onto the ring against a lightweight fighter and vividly illustrates the purpose of weight categories. After taking several hits with lowered hands, he erupts in fury and with a single blow smashes his opponent to the ground. Then, in true trash talk fashion, he challenges the Kumite champion. Frank asks what this Chinese guy did to him. Jackson replies that he's Chong Li, the undefeated Kumite champion. The manager adds that during the previous competition, he killed his opponent with a neck kick and enjoyed watching him die. Chong Li enters the arena again against a smaller opponent. In 14 seconds, he applies a chokehold to the little guy and then delivers a finishing blow to the back of his head, already unconscious. The organizers declare it a new Kumite record, 14.8 seconds. Frank Dukes steps up against the Arab from the hotel. The Arab says,
Now I'll show you some trick or two.
After slapping his opponent's cheeks, Frank defeats him, and the Arab, as promised, showcases his trick. But even such a cunning maneuver doesn't help him beat Frank. Dukes sets a new Kumite record, turning Bolo Young's menacing stare into an even more aggressive one. The janitor claims the knocked-out gold tooth of the fighter, apparently as a prize. The fights continue, showcasing beautiful techniques from various martial arts styles. There's even an exotic monkey kung fu style demonstrated by the Bounty Factory worker. In the best traditions of Pride Fighting Championships, fighters engage in multiple matches on the first day of the competition. For unclear reasons, the inspector changed his decision and informed the DIA officers about the hotel where Frank Dukes is staying. The agents immediately head to the address and demand that the captain return to the base, forbidding him to participate in the Kumite. And you know why?
The government has invested a lot of time and money in you. Uncle Sam can't afford to let you get hurt.
I won't get hurt.
That's why we're here, to make sure of that.
I'll be in the airport in 2 days. We are taking you back now.
Don't make us use 50,000 volts on you, Frank.
Jackson helps him, taking down 2 guys in the proper wrestling manner and buying time for his comrade to escape. After a long chase through the downtown, Frank manages to shake off the officers. In the evening, he has dinner with the journalist, drinking wine despite needing to recover for tomorrow's 3 consecutive fights. The journalist asks him to take her to the Kumite, but he replies that there are strict secrecy rules. So, the girl suggests just spending the night together. In the morning, Van Damme demonstrates how diligently he works on his glutes. It's really hard to find a movie where he doesn't do that.
You know what is you... I'm taking you shopping today if I have to drag you, kicking and screaming.
Such a poser.
He bids farewell to his girlfriend, agreeing to meet in the evening. At the Kumite, he encounters Jackson, who tries to replicate his brick-breaking trick.
Pick a brick. Any brick. I know. Bottom one, right? See? Not a scratch on it.
Locked him.
Neither is this. For you.
There, he also finds his journalist, who somehow infiltrated the tournament, attaching herself to one of the managers. A series of fights begins, a spectacle enjoyed by the crowd, except the journalist, as she is uncomfortable with the violence on the ring. Chong Li enters the arena and effortlessly destroys his opponent. Then, in his sadistic manner, he inflicts a fatality on the already defeated fighter, breaking his leg. The audience goes wild for their champion. Frank also advances in the tournament with a series of 5 victories. Finally, he faces a truly charismatic character who, for 2 minutes, shows Frank how he will destroy him in combat, and then, in 3 seconds, flies off the ring straight into the realm of Morpheus. The monkey-style guy, fighting against the heavyweight wrestler, gets into a devastating hold, and with joy and satisfaction, the heavyweight breaks his spine. It seems Chong Li has found a competitor in this field. Then, however, Dukes faces him. The opponent helps him stretch a bit before the fight. Then he performs his spine-breaking move, with an incorrect grip, by the way.
Here's the really important one to always state. Never do this one.
Oh, yeah.
Breaks your fingers.
Breaks your fingers.
But Frank manages to break free with head strikes. Afterward, he beats the opponent and then effortlessly and casually punches his nuts back in. Seeing how Frank dealt with such a strong fighter, Chong Li gets visibly tense. It's time for Jackson's duel with Chong Li. Frank gives him advice before the fight.
Go for the gut. It's soft there.
What the hell are you talking about?
Chong Li's weak in the gut. That's how Paradise surprised him. Hey, you listen to me? Go for the stomach and stay away from his right leg.
Will you stop worrying, Frankie? I've got it under control. You sound like my mother, man alive.
However, in the match, the Hulk knocks the champion out in a few seconds, but makes a fatal mistake. He prematurely starts gloating, thus giving Li enough time to recover.
Keep going! Keep going!
Chong Li rises and drops Jackson, and then smashes his head with a kick as a finishing move. After that, he takes the defeated Hulk's bandana, defying Frank. He demonstratively enjoys his victory and the fact that he managed to maim another opponent. In the hospital, Frank promises Jackson that he will avenge him and defeat Chong Li.
Do you think that's what he wants? Someone to share a room with?
Johnny, stay out of this.
Frank, I don't want to see you get hurt.
Then don't watch.
This causes him to argue with the journalist, who opposes his continued participation in the competition, fearing for the guy's health. On this note, she visits the police station and asks the inspector to stop the kumite because there's complete chaos going on there.
Why are you so interested in stopping the kumite?
Someone almost got killed there today. I have a friend fighting in it. I don't want him to get hurt.
Who's your friend?
His name is Frank.
Like put up your
Dukes.
right?
The next day, after morning exercises, Frank heads to the competition, but DIA officers block his path. Backed by the inspector and his team, Frank takes down the policemen and confiscates their stun guns.
Inspector, no. Gotta take him back.
Then, the journalist appears. She's the one who informed them about the location of the kumite. Frank tells the officers that he'll meet them at the airport tomorrow and heads to the tournament.
I'll meet you at the airport tomorrow.
The journalist guides the agents to the secret kumite competition. Frank knocks out a Thai boxer in the semifinals, impressing his fellow officers and the journalist. Chong Li, on the other hand, faces another smaller opponent and brutally defeats him, breaking the fighter's neck while he's unconscious. To honor the memory of the deceased athlete, everyone in the hall stands up, and the organizers turn their backs to the ring, apparently signaling their willingness to turn a blind eye to such lawlessness. Chong Li approaches Dukes and utters his second line in the whole movie.
You are next.
While the audience bets on the final match, the fighters prepare for the bout. Chong Li's cornerman puts chalk in his trunks. To provoke the opponent emotionally, the baddie ties Jackson's bandana to his knee.
You break my record. Now I break you like I break your friend.
You see, Bolo Yeung is quite talkative in this movie. The fight begins. From the very first seconds, Frank delivers several powerful kicks to the opponent's head. Chong Li tries his best to show that they mean nothing to him. However, Frank confidently leads in the fight and knocks the big guy down. While Frank shows off, one of the managers gives him a sound advice, which Frank resolutely refuses to use.
Such a poser.
In the meantime, Chong Li takes chalk from his trunks, grinds it into powder, and uses it to blind his foe. Then he starts beating Frank up, taunting him at the same time. Frank takes control of his emotions and remembers how Tanaka taught him to fight with blindfolded eyes. After that, he blocks Chong Li's attack, and ultimately, he defeats his opponent blindly and makes him surrender by uttering the name of the Paraguayan tea. He takes the Jackson's bandana from the villain, and everyone rejoices in the victory of the foreign fighter. As a prize, he is gifted a katana. He bids farewell to Jackson in the hospital and arrives at the airport.
He's not going to show him.
It looks like he did it to us again, huh? Hey guys, you're coming or what?
This film inspired the creators of the legendary Mortal Kombat video game series. At the end of the credits, it is stated that the film is based on real events. However, these events were only described by Frank Dukes himself in his memoirs and have no documentary confirmation. The character of this film, Frank Dukes, became the prototype for Johnny Cage. I hope you enjoyed the recap, and you'll appreciate it by subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.